Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Phil Ford. I'm the Head of Digital Technologies and Financial Services with Skills Development Scotland, and I'm going to be looking this afternoon at the benefits of adopting digital technology. So hopefully everybody can see the slides. What I'm going to do today is give you a bit of an overview of some of the benefits of adopting digital technology more widely, and then look across different sectors within the economy. There's some really innovative things happening across different sectors of the economy at the minute. And I thought it might be helpful just to bring this to life by giving you some live examples of what we're seeing out there. There's also some potential risks which come with adopting digital tech, and I'll talk a little bit about this as well, and some of the things that are underway to mitigate that, and then focusing particularly on the skills that are required across digital economy to take advantage of the opportunities that tech brings us. I'll say a little bit about the Digital Economy Skills Plan, which SDS is working on with partners. And then after the presentation, there'll be an opportunity for you to post some questions in the chat and ask me questions about this topic or about anything in the presentation. I thought where we would start is really just a snapshot of what's happening at the minute. And this is based on the Scottish Government's Digital Economy Business Survey. And you can see from this graph that around 75% of businesses that were surveyed in 2021 saying that digital tech has had a positive impact on productivity, innovation, and low carbon working across their businesses. And you can see that from 2014 into 17 and 21, almost all the types of tech listed here have shown a rise. But as a result of the pandemic, and of course, not surprisingly, there's been a massive increase in remote and mobile working using this type of technology to reach out to our customers and clients. They also seen a big rise in cloud computing, which has increased twofold since the last survey, and the Internet of Things is another area where we have seen a small increase, but a significant increase in terms of the interconnectivity of technology. But what's interesting is that there is a skills dimension to this as well, and around 30% of businesses felt that they were fully equipped with the skills to deal with cybersecurity threats. So that's a significant number of businesses that don't feel confident to deal with that. And about 20% felt that they were fully equipped with all the technical digital skills that they required. So we know that despite an explosion and growth in technology in a number of areas, there's still a skills challenge in terms of upskilling, reskilling, and making sure that people coming in have the right skills to take advantage of the technology that's there. So that's a snapshot over the last 3 surveys that have taken place. We've also seen a rise in the number of businesses selling goods online. The survey also looked at the various types of technology, websites, social media, cloud computing, and mobile tech, and asked businesses what were the most significant benefits of using the different types of technology. And you can see in terms of social media, exposure to new markets, raising awareness of the company profile, trying to get as far up the Google search engine as possible are all significantly important areas and a benefit that companies have seen. And that in turn leads to an increased responsiveness and a better customer service and translating into increased turnover, sales and profits. In terms of cloud computing and mobile technology, employees are able to access on the go remotely from anywhere, and that's a massive advantage when you're trying to run a business which is agile and responsive, and that's led to increased business continuity, flexibility and resilience, and increased efficiency. In terms of other areas, the baseline slightly smaller for these two, but the most cited benefits of data analytics meant that there was much more accurate and targeted marketing possible because of the quality and the quantity of the information which businesses were able to hold and analyze effectively. And that again led to a direct correlation to increase and improvement in customer service, and in turn affecting business strategy, business performance overall. A smaller number using management software, and the benefit there was primarily around increased efficiency and collecting really timely data on customers and on order data and information there. So some really tangible benefits that businesses are reporting around the use of technology, depending on the type of technology that's used. I think it's important to say that Scottish Government have clearly recognised that there's an opportunity from digital technology in terms of growing the economy and driving businesses forward. And so, not surprisingly, there is policy that's directly supporting some of the aspiration here. Some of you might be aware of the Trading Nation report. That's been developed in partnership with FinTech Scotland, Scottish Government, Scottish Development International, Scottish Enterprise, Scotland Is, and Technology Scotland. And this overall ambition here is to grow Scotland's exports to 25% of GDP by 2029. And there's a strong focus on sector export plans in areas like technology, digital, and media industries, as some of the really important strategic sectors across Scotland. Interesting statistic in the report in 2021, almost 10,500 VAT PAYE tech registered business, which is almost 6% of the private sector, and that equates to around 83,500 jobs and 21.6 billion turnover, which is around 7.5% of Scotland's private sector turnover. So significant opportunity here. And there's a number of enabling sectors that sit within that as well, such as cybersecurity and cloud services. Some of you may also have seen Scotland's Inward Investment Plan, ensuring that Scotland is best positioned as a leading destination for inward investment. And that's linked to net zero and other areas like fair work and inclusive prosperity. But there is an action in that, action number 11, which looks to train people in advanced digital skills and increasing that number from 4,000 to 10,000 a year to take advantage of the opportunities that tech brings. And there's also the Digital Catalyst Fund, which has been able to support digital skills development in energy, food, drink, health, and tech opportunity areas. And then finally, in terms of policy, the National Strategy for Economic Transformation, which is Scotland's economic strategy. And that's got a really strong focus on enterprise and entrepreneurial skills and strengthening Scotland's market position in new markets and industries. And again, tech plays a very significant role in that area. There's a strong focus on supporting innovation across businesses, industries, but also looking at the regional context across Scotland as well, and the benefits within communities. And then last point on this slide is that Scotland is produced a tech survey in 2021, and almost 80% of respondents were very optimistic about the next 12 months, with sales and marketing skills particularly in high demand. Computing, programming, and consultancy significantly important as well, and an opportunity for growth in the public sector and professional services sector, and that equates to around 13,000 job opportunities every year. So clearly, one of the advantages of a burgeoning tech sector is more jobs, more opportunities for people to progress in their career, or reskill, or upskill. Some other policy as well that I'm not proposing to go into in any detail other than to flag it. So we had the Digital Nation, Scotland's digital strategy, which looks at accessibility for everyone to digital tech, recognising that that the issues around inclusivity and access are really significant. If people can't access the technology, that's significantly hold them back. And it also looks at how businesses can embrace the economic opportunities of data and tech and digital marketing through new ways of working to grow their customer base and grow their businesses. And the cyber strategy looks at helping businesses to be resilient to the risks of cyber attacks. We've seen some significant attacks in Scotland over the last few years, SEPA being one of the most notable ones. So how can businesses be supported to deal with the cyber attacks that are coming? And then lastly on this slide, the Scottish Technology Ecosystem Review, which is designed to widen the talent funnel of people coming into the tech sector to help companies access talent more quickly, more easily, to help them to scale up and to grow their businesses, because there's clearly opportunities there as well. So that's the background and strategic context, but I thought it'd be helpful just to spend a little bit of time looking at some tangible examples of companies that are embracing technology and finding that having a direct and positive impact on their business. So I've got an example here from Edinburgh. It's a company called Wreath, and they create digital infrastructure for reusable packaging. They were able to bring in over £300,000 of pre-seed funding and work with organisations like TechStart and CVC Philanthropy. They're helping businesses develop sustainable models and zero waste using digital passports assigned to individual products. So you can track these products through the life cycle, which clearly plays into the circular economy agenda. And companies can now manage the product life cycle better and how packaging can be reused. But there's also benefits to communities as well. There's a case study here at the top right looking at Dundee, a city which is looking to reduce carbon emissions, a city vulnerable to climate change, particularly flooding, and also a challenge of fuel poverty with around 1 in 3 households in fuel poverty. So the council was working with partners to develop a climate action plan which focused on a number of areas such as energy, waste, transport, and resilience. And working with a Swedish tech company called Climate View and its climate platform actually helped the city to quantify and reduce carbon footprint. And it may surprise you to know that Dundee is currently the electric vehicle capital of Scotland with around 200 electric vehicle charging points. So clear benefits to wider communities as well as to businesses. And then in the space tech sector, which is a growing sector, and I'll come on to talk about this shortly as well, machine learning has been used to map Scotland's natural habitats and fight climate change. This was discussed at COP26 at one of the Fringe festivals, where artificial intelligence is used to monitor the health of our natural environment, such as peat bogs, where you can actually look at the height of the land over time to see how much water and carbon the peat bogs are absorbing. So a very tangible example of how technology can support the transition to net zero. But there's also opportunities in the hospitality and tourism sector as well. So during the pandemic, Visit Scotland developed a destination leaders program, which looked at how to use different technology to help visitor attractions promote their experiences, developing an interactive toolkit to give attractions and experiences ideas of how best to promote their particular attraction. And then again, during COVID, when we couldn't travel too far, there was a gentleman called John Harper who developed Scottish Visits podcasts, taking us around the country, around 6,000 downloads that tourists could listen to through virtual tours of Scotland, using technology like Facebook streams, Instagram stories, blogs, and web events to promote to promote tourism and the sites that people can look at across the country. And then the Lithgow-based Mary's Meanders, who also do Outlander tours, they developed virtual road tours with a Scottish road trip in a box, where you could actually listen as you're traveling around Scotland, indulging in some Scottish snacks at the same time. So some quite innovative thinking there in the tourism sector. And Code Clan, I've been working very closely with Travel Tech Scotland to develop an industry event to look at the benefits of acquiring digital tech skills for the future, looking at transferable skills. And that provided tourism businesses with an overview to coding and data analytics to help the sector kind of move forward. And there's lots of other examples as well, online courses, support for employers that are looking at the different stages of the customer journey, from thinking up what they want to do, to plan, to booking, to experience and sharing. So developing a toolkit to help businesses actually support that journey for customers at those different stages. I'm going to turn now to agriculture. This is a really interesting study, which is called Connected Cows. And the Scottish 5G Centre had set up a hub, a first rural hub in the southwest of Scotland in Dumfries, looking at monitoring milk production in cows. So it was based on a project that took place in Somerset to measure, monitor and analyse grass feed and milk production. It used drone technology to measure grass across the fields. It used sensor tech to monitor the movements of livestock, eating and resting, multiple sensors to build up a body of information. And this led to a 20% increase in milk production and a much quicker identification of any health concerns amongst the livestock. So a direct benefit for companies there. You may have seen the headlines around the fruit industry as well. Artificial intelligence has been used in a project in the Northeast with Aberdeen University, Scotland's Innovation Centre for Data and AI, and Angus Soft Fruits Limited based in Arbroath. This was a 3-year collaboration where they used machine learning to forecast soft fruit yield forecasting. There's millions of pounds worth of waste currently across Scotland in this area. So the project is designed to minimise that waste, cut cost, reduce the amount of packaging as well. And the technology has led to greater efficiencies in transport, sales, packaging, and waste, while also reducing carbon emissions. And just underneath that, there's another innovative project where the university in Plymouth has developed technology to create robots to pick fruit, to pick raspberries, and each robot apparently collects around 2 kilograms of fruit per hour, 25,000 raspberries a day, which is more than human workers can do in an 8-hour shift. And you might look at that and say that could cause displacement of employment, but we know that there's been a challenge in getting fruit pickers this year, so this could actually work alongside humans to maximise the yield from the fruit. And then finally, on this, a survey carried out looking at beef and sheep farmers to try and see how digital tech could improve productivity in their industries as well. So some very tangible examples of how tech is having an impact in land-based sectors. Fintech's probably a bit more established, and again, you'll be very familiar with the number of products in this area too. There's some technology, for example, that's been developed by Direct ID to help assess potential for risk when loans are being offered, to try and agree new lending options for people, for example, with no or limited credit history. There's various apps out there as well to support currency transfers and payment without some of the traditional currency charges, such as Revolut and Chase. And then you've got other initiatives like Money Dashboard, which looks at transactional information of how people spend, and then compare that to how spend across peer groups similar to them look, and hopefully to help them manage their money better. And then an interesting tool called Invest AI, which helps people to claim benefits that they may be entitled to, but may not be aware of how to access. So some really practical examples with a social benefit as well. And then in the health sector, I'll just touch briefly on this. Digital and Healthcare Scotland working to develop a kind of user-centered approach. So looking at how people access health and making sure that the technology works to best advantage to support individuals. So for example, helping people to live independently in their own homes for longer by using technology. And a very practical case study as well, NHS Scotland, working with a range of organisations such as NHS Glasgow and Clyde, the National Jubilee Hospital, University of Glasgow, AstraZeneca, and Lennis Hair, so that Lennis Health have developed a memorandum of understanding to test patient pathways and how digital technologies can be used to help with treatment and earlier diagnosis. And they developed an opera pathway, which is looking at heart failure. And it would give a patient a single clinic appointment where they underwent a number of tests. So that reduced the waiting list for heart failure diagnostic tests from more than 12 months to 6 weeks. So some really clear examples of how tech is helping in terms of health. And then finally, in terms of industry, space tech. It might interest you to know that around 18% of all UK space roles are filled within Scotland. 8,400, 130 plus space companies. So there's clearly an opportunity here for growth and development, and technology is playing a really important part here in terms of research and development and moving some things forward. However, there is a risk with digital technology. You can see from earlier slides that it reduces carbon emissions, but it can also contribute to carbon emissions. The data consumption of ICT is a really interesting subject. And if you look at this research briefings report from the UK Parliament, they've estimated that between 4 and 6% of global electricity use comes from data centers, communications networks, and other devices, and that's set to increase. So modernization of comms networks, moving from copper to fiber optic, looking at edge computing, i.e. having storage closer to devices that need them, will all reduce energy use. So there's an opportunity to do better in this area. And is an individual called Eric Z, who works for Go Code Green, who has been looking at measuring and assessing the climate footprint of digital operations like websites, like emails, to try and bring that carbon emissions down. And this is probably an area that needs a little bit more work and thought in terms of how we do that. What I'm going to do now is just talk a little bit about the skills side in the next 10 minutes or so. So one of the things that Skills Development Scotland do on a regular basis is produce labour market intelligence and people and jobs and what's happening in the wider economy. And we can see that across the digital technology sector, there's around 73, almost 74,000 people. And the qualifications that these people have tend to be at a higher level than across the economy more generally. And the top employing sectors tend to be STEM occupations, areas like culture, media, sports, customer services occupations. And the majority of the employment currently in the tech sector is, perhaps not surprisingly, across the central belt, but not exclusively. If we look at the job postings from the start of January last year to the end of last year, you can see that there was over 6,000 jobs advertised. And the jobs that are in demand are areas like programmers and software development professionals, sales roles, and customer service occupations. But what is interesting is that the skills that are required are not all tech skills, that there are softer skills that employers value too. And those are areas like teamwork, collaboration, customer service, and sales. And so when qualifications are being developed and run, these softer skills are really important as well. The digital skills across the economy has been a really interesting feature that's been accelerated by the pandemic. We no longer have a digital tech standalone sector that is divorced from digital technology skills in other sectors. Almost half the jobs, the digital jobs that are available, are out with the pure tech sector. So we've tried to look at this, come up with a model which provides an overview of what it looks like, we think it looks like now. So at the bottom, at the left-hand side of that diagram is what we're calling digital adoption skills. So these are the types of skills that anybody's going to need to have coming into any type of job now, from school, college, university, or work-based training. The digital transition skills are the skills that businesses actually need to help them make that transition and to capitalize on the technology that's there. And we know that from the research that's been carried out, that small businesses, particularly micros, sole traders, third sector, often need a little bit more support in this area to understand what's there, but also to access it. And then the third area is what we're calling integrated digital skills. So these are jobs that are becoming much more digitized or automated, or where digital skills are more important. So if we think of construction, house building, if you're moving to an off-site facility within a factory environment, that's about computer skills just in time. It's different type of combination of skills that are needed. And then we've got the techies, the cyber professionals, the data analysts, and so on the right-hand side. But for this to work effectively, digital leadership is absolutely critical. And having access to digital leadership skills will be something that sets businesses apart. Those that are succeeding and doing well will have really strong digital leadership skills that understand how the technology can be used to support businesses and to support people in the businesses. One of the things we've been doing over the last few months is developing an evidence base to inform a skills plan for digital economy. And some of the things that are coming up in that, I mentioned briefly earlier, digital maturity of Scottish businesses are challenges that will affect how quickly they can take up tech and use digital to best advantage. Basic digital skills are an issue. There is a lack of digital leadership across some sectors as well. We don't have enough tech professionals coming in. If you look at the job websites, you can see the sheer number of jobs that are advertised in these areas. We do have a challenge in that area. And so there's also a need to reskill and upskill people who want to move into this area or people that work in this area already. We know that there are rural challenges as well. There are shortages of computer science teachers in rural areas. There may not be any. And so there's specific challenges there that need to be addressed. And we also know that the sector is still lacking in diversity. We know there's a challenge around getting more girls at school interested in tech careers. We know that ethnic minority groups are underrepresented in the workplace as well. But there's some good practice happening out there already. There's a digital technology placement program within Highland Council that supports small businesses to take on a graduate on a placement for 12 weeks. So that business is benefiting from the expertise that that graduate brings. One example, a company called Pat Monroe, family-run all-nest-based contractor, um, operating across a whole range of industries like haulage, plant hire and waste. They identified IT projects that needed support, and they applied to that program, and they got a computer science graduate in, and they moved the company's online systems to a better place, reduced entry requirements, and it led to a 10% reduction in processing speeds. So that business directly benefited from a placement program and expertise that someone could bring. Innovative things happening as well in the south of Scotland through the new digital skills hub. And there's a program that we're working on with Dundee and Angus College to embed cybersecurity modules in non-tech courses, recognizing that that is becoming more and more important. And the aim of that module is to make sure that people who come into the labour market understand how they can protect themselves, protect their employers, and protect businesses online. And then the final example is a Data Lab MSc program, which looks to build out employability skills as part of a master's program. It's a scholarship, and it is over a 3-month paid placements where students have found employment opportunities in a whole range of industry sectors across the economy. So some really good examples of innovative practice in that area. So what will a digital economy skills plan do to address some of these challenges? Well, it sets out the need for change. It sets out some of the information that I've just gone through with you in the last few minutes, and it sets out how important it is for us all to work together to address those. And it looks over a 5-year period with an annual review point built into that. And it recognises that this is everywhere. It's right across the whole of the digital economy. And that digital technology is really important in terms of addressing the climate and net zero targets as well. So there's areas of opportunity here. I think the first key area of opportunity is that tech can support digital skills, and tech can support a vibrant technology economy that's inclusive. Businesses require professional technology skills, and they also have jobs that are increasingly more digitized and automated. And that's across almost every sector. It's hard to think of a sector that doesn't have a tech need or a tech element, or a sector that would benefit from tech skills. There is enormous opportunity for growth. I've touched on some innovative practice in a range of sectors. There is a lot more in that across all of those sectors that we haven't had time to go into today. And I think one of the challenges is helping companies to make the transition, to look at best practice, to see what's directly transferable into their business, and to make the best use of the technology to scale up and grow their businesses. Another area is around the digital maturity. So it's all very well to talk about technology and how it can benefit businesses, but if there's not an understanding of how that can be driven, or leadership to move that forward across businesses, there's a significant gap there. And so digital leadership is going to be really important to help support companies and that digital maturity journey. It will also help address the climate net zero targets. It will drive low carbon emissions across sectors, notwithstanding the challenges of trying to minimize the footprint from digital and data centers and technology as well. And finally, it will support a more diverse and inclusive digital economy. So, for example, if businesses are struggling to get people with tech skills, then what language do you use to make that appealing to a wide range of individuals? What imagery do you use? Have you considered neurodivergent talent, for example? How do you actually work? How can we work together to make sure that that individuals from diverse backgrounds have an opportunity to get into and move through the technology sector? And so SDS have worked with a range of partners to identify some proposed areas of opportunity. And the first is to make sure, it's quite straightforward really, to make sure that we've got enough people with the right skills that are needed by employers to grow the economy going forward. It's very easy to say, but it's more challenging to do, because we simply don't have enough people with the skills that employers are looking for at the minute. And we've seen some companies therefore going to hiring remotely from other parts of the world or other parts of the UK. So what more can be done, linked to the work of STARE and other initiatives, to grow our own talent, to get young people excited about digital and tech careers, and make sure we've got enough of the right people to take advantage of the jobs and opportunities that are there. Then the second area is to understand what's coming down the tracks. Technology is moving, as I'm sure you all are very aware, at a massively quick rate. You've heard that comment, I'm sure, many times, that that some of the jobs that are required in the next few years, technology may not even be there yet. So keeping abreast of the challenges and the changes, but also recognizing that there are soft skills that are critically important as well as the technical skills that are required. Supporting digital maturity and digital leadership across small businesses is absolutely critical too going forward. If we don't have that, businesses simply will not be able to take full advantage of the technology that is there for them. And then fourthly, making sure that the skills opportunities that are available are fair and inclusive and diverse, and the language and imagery is appealing. Now, if you think about it, some girls might be turned off at school by computer science as a name, but if you say, do you want to make a difference to the environment? Do you want to work in a sector which will reduce carbon emissions? This is where some of the tech skills that you could get here could take you. That could be a more appealing proposition, and that may attract a different, more diverse range of people to the jobs that are available. And then finally, developing an adaptable digital economy workforce through upskilling and reskilling. This is absolutely critical. If we know that tech is moving at a fast rate, then upskilling is constantly going to be required. And as individuals exit some sectors, perhaps through decline of traditional industries and other factors, there's an opportunity to reskill and move people into the tech sector. So how do you quickly develop short, sharp, micro-credential courses that will enable people to reskill quickly and move into another area? So hopefully that has set out some of the benefits and opportunities of digital technology, focusing on the wider context across Scotland, looking at specifically at industry sectors, and then focusing on the skills and some of the tangible things that we're looking to do with partners in this area. So I'm happy now to take any questions. I'm just going to exit this and go to the other screen to see what questions people have been adding in the sidebar. Thank you. So there's a question from Susan asking what is happening with assistive technology to aid the neurodiverse community, to aid businesses in the future. There's a report that I'm happy to share with you, Susan, afterwards on neurodiversity that we commissioned last year, and that's looking at some of the things that you're talking about as well. So you're right, it's about the technology, it's also about the language that's used as well. It's also recognizing that neurodivergent individuals will react and prefer to work in particular ways, and making sure that employers understand that. So effectively a kind of a guide or a best practice guide of how employers can access and use those skills to best effect, and how they can engage most meaningfully with neurodivergent individuals. Any other comments or questions? Do please feel free to type them in to the side. And it would be good to hear as well if there are businesses that have used technology and it's had a really strong beneficial impact on your business. It would be good to hear about that as well. So I think there's another one here. How do we get access to job and skills information? So for employers, I'm happy to pick up with you separately, Thomas. We've also got a lot of information on our skills force around information that is available. If you're looking specifically for the information that I brought up around the labour market, if you go onto Skills Development Scotland's website, you'll be able to find a lot of that information there under sector skills assessments, ICT and digital technologies, but happy to make the slides available as well. And there's a question around how to help micro enterprises identify what skills they need and afford. This came out really strongly in our digital economy skills plan research. And one of the things that we're looking to do is to develop what we're calling a digital essentials toolkit, which enables businesses to map out the existing skills that they have within the workforce and also what they need. And the second thing we're looking to do is to develop a digital economy skills framework, which would map out the most significant in-demand skills that are required too. And hopefully that will then help. You're absolutely right. Whoever put in that comment about limited resources, and so support has got to be easy to access, and it's got to be affordable as well. There's a lot of free online courses as well that are available through things like FutureLearn, LinkedIn Learning. SDS has pulled together support as well through the pandemic. So not everything has a cost. There's a lot of really good stuff that's out there for free as well. Another comment, reports are great, but grassroots businesses are at a huge disadvantage. Advisors that they speak to don't have the skill set to advise. So there's an issue there about how we bring the advisors up to speed with what's happening, and you can apply that in lots of different sectors. How do you make sure that people in school are up to date with the careers the most up to date careers information, or the lecturers at college and university have all the up to date skills, and advisors. There's clearly an issue there, Lynn, and I'd be happy to pick up with you, around that, and just an understanding of the experiences that you're either finding directly or hearing about. But there is an upskilling with advisors as well in terms of the opportunities that's there. There is a lot of activity happening to try and streamline support and advice for companies, rather than having to hunt about in lots of different places. So happy to pick up with that separately. So I've got another comment from Susan. Studying with Open University, use a lot of assistive technology. Yeah, no, that's great. That there's a lot of really good technology out there that will be able to support and help neurodivergent individuals, and that's fantastic that you've been able to access that. I think it's also making people who are neurodivergent aware of what's there. You've clearly been able to get it. There's a lot of others that would certainly benefit from that as well. Any further questions? We've got a little bit longer if we've any final comments or questions. This is such a wide and broad topic as well. There's a lot in here. And I would say that I don't think anybody's got all the answers. It's very, very fast moving. I'll just give it another few seconds. Anything else anybody wants to ask? If not, I'd just like to thank you all for your time. Thank you for listening. Thank you for contributing. Happy to pick up with anyone who wants to continue the conversation as well. But I hope you find that useful, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.